Pulled out every single type of sugar I have in my baker's pantry. That last video brought up lots of conversation. If you have something different, make a video, tag me, show me what you have in your country, because it might be different than what we can get. Okay, so the process of making refined white sugar is made from either sugar cane or sugar beets. Now, the process of refining sugar produces a byproduct called molasses. Molasses that we eat is really only from sugar cane. Sugar beet molasses is not very palatable. So castor sugar or superfine sugar is essentially the same as granulated sugar. It's a little more finely ground. This is more common in some other countries. You can typically use them interchangeably. Powdered sugar is even more finely ground white sugar. It has an anti-caking ingredient added to it, like cornstarch, to help it not clump up so much. These three types of sugar that are natural brown sugars are made from sugar cane. They are still refined, but they're not as far refined as white sugar. So turbinado sugar still has some of the natural molasses in it. It's a pretty large grain. We usually call it sugar in the raw in the US. Demerara sugar is very similar. It's just a little bit lighter, not as much molasses, and the grain is a little bit smaller. Now in the US, typically we only see this brown granulated sugar sold as organic cane sugar. It's just a marketing tactic. It's very similar to where brown eggs in the US are kind of like always seen as, better. It just has a little bit of the natural molasses left in it. It's not refined quite as far as this. Okay, in the US, now this is different in different parts of the world, but this is what we call brown sugar. It is granulated sugar with molasses added back into it. It creates this really moist, flavorful sugar. We use it in baking. It makes things really moist and chewy. This is what makes a chocolate chip cookie chewy. It's brown sugar. Dark brown sugar is the same thing. It's white sugar with more molasses added back into it. This is what some people might have in other parts of the world that's more common than this. Muscovado sugar. So muscovado sugar is a very finely ground sugar that is less refined than granulated sugar. It has natural molasses in it. You can pretty much use these two interchangeably because there's a dark muscovado and there's a light muscovado, but it's much more flavorful than the light brown sugar or the dark brown sugar. And it's also much stickier. And if you rub it between your fingers, the grain is a lot finer. Now, a lot of people ask, why do we take the molasses out and put it back in? I have not been able to find a very clear answer to that, but my guess is because so much of our sugar comes from sugar beets, like around 60% of our granulated sugar comes from sugar beets, and you don't keep the molasses in the sugar beets. It doesn't taste good. If anybody knows the answer, let me know. Okay, bye.